Hello children, welcome back to our science class. So we started the animals around us, that chapter, and we completed some portions also about the reproduction in animals. So animals are mainly classified into two according to the reproduction. One is oviparous and the another one is viviparous. Oviparous animals means they can lay eggs and they will produce their young ones, and viviparous means they will give birth to their young ones. So we are discussing about the oviparous animals, and we discussed many examples also. So examples for oviparous animals are reptiles, birds, amphibians, etc. So we discussed many of them, and after that we started the life cycle also. So the different stages of development in the life of an animal or a living thing is known as a life cycle. So we already seen many examples also, the life cycle of a turtle, life cycle of a fish, etc. So today we are going to study more about the life cycle of some other animals. So we can check now. So this is about the last day's assignment. What is a life cycle? Explain and draw a neat label diagram of the life cycle of a fish. A life cycle is a process that reflects all the developmental stages of a living being. So draw the diagram, life cycle of a fish, refer the page number 225. Then a female fish lays a large number of eggs at a time in water. The eggs hatch into fry, the fry grows into juvenile, the juvenile turns into an adult fish. Then next question, a fish lays a large number of eggs at a time. Why do only a few of them hatch? The answer is, a fish lays a large number of eggs at a time. The eggs are consumed by the bigger fishes, so only a few of them will hatch into smaller fishes. So next is life cycle of a frog. I think you are familiar with that. You already seen also. We can check which are the different stages of development in a frog. So first one, the frog will lay eggs. Eggs will hatches into tadpole. Then tadpole later grow into froglet, then finally an adult frog. So these are the different stages in the life cycle of a frog. When we studied the life cycle of a chicken or the life cycle of a turtle or a fish, at that time all the young ones will look like similar to the adult one. But in the case of a frog, we can see that there is a change in the there is not so much similarities in the young ones and the adult ones. For example, frog will lay eggs and the egg will hatch into a tadpole. The tadpole looks like entirely different from a frog. Then tadpole later develop into froglet. Then froglet will later grow into a frog. So now we can check each stage of growth of development of frog. First one we can see in the picture, the frog will lay eggs. And you can see there, the egg is covered with a jelly-like structure. So the jelly-like structure have an unpleasant taste. So that's because at that time, because of this unpleasant taste, the enemies will not attack these eggs. The jelly-like covering of the eggs has an unpleasant taste to prevent the eggs from being eaten by the predators in water. Predators in water means enemies, those who are trying to eat the egg. So the first stage is an adult frog will lay eggs. The egg is covered with a jelly-like covering, and this covering have an unpleasant taste, so it can protect that eggs from the enemies. Then next is, egg will develop into a tadpole. That means the egg will hatch out and it will grow into a tadpole. Between 12 to 16 weeks, lung starts to develop. So it will be able to breathe out of the water when it becomes a frog. So between this period, 12 to 16 weeks, the lungs of this baby will starts to develop. So at that time, if it is living in water, at the same time it can breathe also because of the development of the lungs. So second stage, the egg will hatch and it will grow into a tadpole. Next we can check. Next stage is froglet. Froglet, that means young one. So in this stage, so after the tadpole, the two front legs will grow and its long tail becomes shorter and shorter. So in the tadpole stage, you can see that it is having a long tail. So and the front legs will start to grow and the long tail will become shorter and shorter. So the froglet uses the nutrients present in the tail as a food. So in the tail, some nutrients are present. So when the tadpole is growing, at that time, the tadpole uses these nutrients for the growth. So this is the third stage. Next stage, so until its tail is completely gone, it doesn't need anything else to eat. So after the froglet stage, next stage, in the froglet stage, the tail becomes shorter and shorter. So finally it will completely go. So at that time, it doesn't need anything else to eat. When only a little stub of tail is left, froglet hops right out of the water and on to the dry land. So next stage is froglet. That means the younger stage. So at that time, the tail will completely gone and a small stub of tail is left there. So that froglet hops right out of the water and on to the dry land. So at that time, the froglet can go out to the water also. Then next stage is the final stage, that means frog, adult stage. The frog's tail will eventually disappear completely and it will start to eat insect instead of plants from water. So in the final stage, it will grow into an adult. Froglet will change into an adult. At that time, the tail is completely gone and it can come out of the water at that time also, and also it starts to eat the insects instead of plants from the water. So these are the 4 stages of development of frog. So we can check one more time. So the first one, the frog will lay eggs, eggs will hatches into a tadpole, tadpole grown into a froglet, finally into a frog. First stage, the frog will lay eggs, the eggs are covered with a sticky coating or a jelly like coating is there, it having an unpleasant taste. So it will protect it from the enemies. And next is the egg will hatch and a tadpole will come outside. Tadpole, so in the case of tadpole you can see one tail also. Next stage is froglet, that means that in the case of a tadpole, 2 front legs grow and the tail, long tail becomes shorter and shorter. And the froglets, it will use the food or the nutrients present in the tail. And next stage, that means the froglet, so until the tail you can see that only a small portion is remaining there, and when only a little stub of tail is left, froglets hops right out of the water and onto the dry land. So at that time, the froglet will go to the land area. Then final stage is frog, adult frog. The frog's tail will eventually disappear completely. So at that time, they will become a grown frog and they can eat the insect from the atmosphere, and also it does not eat anything from the water at that time. It mainly catches the insect. So that's why adult frog needs to live on land at times to get some more insect as food. Adult frog will stay again in water, it will lay eggs again. So it will start to eat insect from the land area. So it will not stay in the water for water anymore. Sometime only they will go to the water and it will lay eggs in the water. So this is the life cycle of a frog. An adult frog will lay eggs, egg hatches into tadpole, tadpole grown into a young, and the young will grown into an adult. So next is the life cycle of a butterfly. So the butterfly also, these are the different stages: egg, caterpillar, pupa, butterfly. The butterfly will lay eggs. Usually it will lay eggs under the leaves and all, to hiding it from the enemies. So after some days, the egg will hatches and a caterpillar will come outside. So the caterpillar will eat the leaves. So it will eat the leaves very fastly and it will become very big in size. And after that, it will make a covering itself and it is known as pupa. So when it grows inside the pupa, it will become mature and it will become grown enough. At that time, it will come outside as a butterfly. So this is the life cycle of a butterfly. So we can check one more time which are the different stages: egg, caterpillar, pupa, butterfly. So the butterfly will lay eggs, eggs will hatches into caterpillar. So the first stage is laying eggs and the second stage it will hatch into a caterpillar. So the caterpillar will eat the leaves. They will eat a lot of leaves and they will become very large in size. At that time, they are shedding their coverings. They will shed their coverings. So this process is known as molting. This process is known as molting. So it eats very fastly the green leaves or the leaves, and it will become very big in size. So at that time the covering will not be able to bear the big size. At that time they will shed their outer covering. So that process is known as molting, and after that it will stay in a covering made by itself, and it is known as pupa. That stage is known as pupa. Later it will develop into a butterfly. The caterpillar will make a covering itself, and it will stay there for some days, and after that it will come outside as a beautiful butterfly. So this is the life cycle of a butterfly: egg, caterpillar, pupa, butterfly. So now we studied about the oviparous animals mainly. Next is viviparous animals. Oviparous means they are able to produce their babies by laying eggs. Next is viviparous animals. Viviparous animals means that they will give birth to their young ones. Example: cat, dog, then cow, then human being. So these are all examples. So now we can check. Animals that give birth to their young are called viviparous animals. So we can check the specialities. They have hair or fur on their bodies and are mammals. Mammals means they are giving milk to their babies. They have hair or fur on their bodies and are mammals. Then embryo grows into a baby inside the womb of the mother, and the mother feeds the baby with her milk and protects them. So inside the mother's womb the embryo is there. The embryo will develop into a baby, and the mother feeds the baby with her milk and protects them. Example: human beings, dogs, cats, tigers, etc. So that is about viviparous animals. So now we can check the assignment. Before that we can go a recap. So today we studied about the life cycle of a frog. The different stages are eggs, tadpole, froglet and frog. So the frog will lay eggs. Egg is covered with a sticky coating. It is having an unpleasant taste to protect it from the enemies. Then egg will change into a tadpole, and the two front legs will grow, and the long tail become shorter and shorter, and it will consume the nutrients present in the tail. Then there is a little bit tail only present at that time. The froglet will hops right out of the water and onto the dry land, and the final stage is frog. The frog's tail completely gone, and it starts to eat the insect. And next is we studied about the life cycle of a butterfly. The butterfly will lay eggs mainly under the leaves to hiding it from the enemies, and the egg will hatch and a caterpillar will come outside. It is a larva stage. The caterpillar can eat the leaves very quickly, and it will become very big in size. So each time their skin become older and older, and it will shed their skin. That process is known as molting. And the caterpillar they will make a covering by itself, and they will sit inside this covering, and this stage is known as pupa. After several days it will come outside as a butterfly. That is the life cycle of a butterfly. Then next is viviparous animals. Animals that give birth to their young ones are called viviparous animals. Their specialties are they have hair or fur on their bodies, and they are mammals. Mammals means they will give milk to their babies. And next, how the process: the embryo grows into a baby inside the mother's womb, and the mother feeds the baby with her milk and protects them. Example: human beings, dogs and tigers. So now we can check the assignment. Name the different stages in the life cycle of a butterfly. Name the different stages of development in the life cycle of a butterfly. Next, define molting and viviparous animals. So read the lesson many times and also study the different life cycle of each animal. Oviparous animal mainly. We already seen many examples for birds, amphibians, etc. So study that also. And also you read the lesson at least 3 times. Okay, we will see in the next class. Thank you.